Israeli forces intensify attacks on Gaza as humanitarian crisis deepens. Israeli forces have launched renewed attacks on Gaza, resulting in the deaths of at least 2 children in Gaza City and Beit Lahia. These strikes come as Israel's total blockade on aid entering the Strip extends into its 13th day, exacerbating an already dire humanitarian crisis. Meanwhile, UN experts have accused Israel of committing genocidal acts against Palestinians, citing the systematic destruction of women's healthcare facilities and the use of sexual violence as a war tactic during its military campaign in Gaza. In ongoing ceasefire negotiations, a Hamas official reiterated the group's insistence on adhering to the existing agreement and progressing to its second phase. This stance comes amid reports of discussions surrounding a U.S. proposal to extend Phase 1 of the truce by 60 days in exchange for the release of additional Israeli captives. Mounting casualties and devastation. Gaza's health ministry reports that at least 48,524 Palestinians have been killed and 111,955 wounded since the war began. However, Gaza's government media office places the death toll at more than 61,700, citing thousands of bodies still trapped under rubble. In contrast, at least 1,139 people were killed in Israel during the October 7, 2023 attacks, with more than 200 taken captive. Crackdown on pro-Palestine protesters in the U.S. Columbia University faces backlash for expelling students involved in pro-Palestinian activism. The United Auto Workers, UAW, representing 370,000 members, strongly condemned the university's actions, particularly the expulsion of Grant Minor, president of the Student Workers of Columbia Union. The union criticized Columbia's move, calling it an attack on free speech and labor rights, warning that such measures could set a dangerous precedent for political activism on campuses nationwide. Rising tensions in the West Bank and Jerusalem violence continues to escalate beyond Gaza, with Israeli settlers setting fire to Palestinian homes and vehicles in the occupied West Bank villages of Duma and Khirbet al-Manajim. Additionally, Israeli forces stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in occupied East Jerusalem during dawn prayers, deploying surveillance drones and restricting Palestinian access to the site, a move that has drawn widespread condemnation. In another incident, an Israeli court ordered the release of a suspect accused of shooting a Palestinian municipal worker in Jerusalem. The victim, Ahmad Nijam, was reportedly attacked by a mob chanting "Death to Arabs" before being shot in the leg. Despite video evidence, the court ruled that the suspect did not pose a criminal threat. Continued ceasefire violations. Despite the ceasefire, Israeli forces have continued operations in Gaza, killing at least 150 Palestinians and wounding 605 others since January 19th, according to the Euromed Human Rights Monitor. The rights group reports that Israeli snipers and drones frequently target civilians attempting to return to their damaged homes near the so-called buffer zone. Growing exploitation of Palestinian workers. A new Oxfam report highlights the exploitation of Palestinian women working in illegal Israeli settlements in the occupied West Bank. The study details how these women endure harsh working conditions, long hours, and harassment while lacking legal protections. Oxfam emphasized that decades of Israeli policies restricting Palestinian economic development have forced many women into exploitative labor, calling on the international community to take urgent action. Global calls for action. As violence and humanitarian concerns escalate, human rights organizations, activists, and international bodies continue to call for immediate action to halt hostilities, ensure the protection of civilians, and uphold human rights in the region.